Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Parker Council meeting. If you don't mind, everybody please stand. Mr. Reagan.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today as we embark on this meeting. May our thoughts and discussions be guided by your light. Help us to reflect on the call to deepen our Christian life. May our shared experiences serve as a reminder to your goodness and in God's love. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. It's me. I don't know why that's pulled out like that. They vacuumed it probably. This one's out too. All right, let's see what we got here. Ma'am, would you please take the roll call?
Absolutely. Miss Barrow? Here. Miss Waterford? Here. Mr. Chappell?
Here.
Mr. Haney? Mayor Kelly?
Here. Thank you, ma'am. At this time, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to approach the podium, you may, for any item that's not on the agenda for discussion. I need your name and address for the record, please.
Pat Bosick, 1344 Stratford. It's July 1st. We're getting close to budget time. Are we going to be having some budget workshops for the 25-26 budget?
Probably.
Okay, just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Isn't the cutoff time in October, I think, before we have to get all that done?
November,
October.
November, December, as long as we're done by Christmas.
Excuse me, are you joking?
Ma'am?
Are you joking?
Oh, I thought that's when we had to have it done by.
Budgets?
It'll be September.
When is it?
September.
Oh, September. September, John.
I knew it was around September. or
30th.
October.
In the summer like that, right?
30th.
Yes, ma'am, I was pulling the clerk's leg.
Thank you.
And does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss with us? Okay. First item is approval of the minutes for June the 17th.
I make a motion that we approve them as presented.
We've got a motion. We have a second. Would you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Miss Barrow?
Yes.
Miss Waterford? Yes. Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Item 2 is our Kingfish tournament request. And you have the floor, sir, if you'd like to discuss what it is you're proposing, and the
Okay.
council can put,
Well, first off, I'm not asking for anything. I'm here providing information and offering some services and some information I've heard, from our peer and people around. The people have talked about, the nice new pier and having a fireworks program would be really a neat thing to have down here. So what I'm proposing, suggesting, bringing up, that's been brought to me, is the possibility of the city of Parker, if they have an interest in it. I can bring a lot to the table for them, and I'll share that information with you. But it would be, I think it would be pretty neat for the city of Parker to have a community celebration, which could involve, this is just me rambling, okay, could involve a celebration of activities with somebody playing down there. We are going to have a Kingfish tournament at our marina. I could move the weigh-in down to the pier because people really like to see the weigh-ins. The Tyndall Air Base would probably get involved with doing a flyby or something of that nature, and then at the end of the event have a fireworks to display. The benefits would be community relations, business relations, City of Parker recognition, donations to the orphanage. What we would do, whether we have the Kingfish tournament down at your place or our place, we're going to donate any of the fish to an orphanage or some cause that could have the benefit, because we can either sell a fish and donate the money or just donate the fish. Because most communities have some kind of a event sometime during the year. I don't think that we do here at Parker, but they do, and there's nothing that says you need to. Problems that I would see, parking would be an issue, which I think, number one, you never have event like that, it doesn't have a parking issue. Number two, that park is huge and is really walking distance from the piers, so if the county would be willing to let the park be used for parking or something, you could also do some shuttling, so that wouldn't be, there's no fireworks at this end of Panama City, which would be a benefit to a lot of people at this end of town. This would be a City of Parker event. I already have potentially 3 major sponsors that would, I don't know that it'd fund the whole event, but would certainly put a really big dent in it, and I think the balance of it could be generated through businesses and efforts on community. So I don't think the city would have to spend any funds to create such an event. Speculation there. I checked on the cost of fireworks. They run about $1,000 a minute, so this would not be a cheap event, but the sponsors that I've got, you know, are pretty significant and would be willing to spend a pretty serious amount of money. What I would see the process being would be to, because a year in advance, it would be to, my recommendation would be if there was an, excuse me, an interest, is immediately solicit people, local people, whoever would willing to participate in a couple of committees. 1, to organize the event, and 2, to help with the marketing and to help with the fundraising that for any additional funds that the sponsors may not contribute to. We'd need to start way in advance because there's a lot of approvals that would make or break this event. We'd need to seek approvals from for the airspace to be able to have fireworks at that time. We would need to have, if we wanted any involvement and they were willing to, from Tyndall, they require a lot of time to get approvals for those kind of things. We would need to get approval from, I guess it would be the county, to be able to use that park for parking in that event. Sponsors for the kind of money we're talking about would always, like you guys talked about earlier, they would want to have a time to budget it into what they're doing. And also there's a lot of competition with that, so the sooner you could get started to reserve things, if you wish, like food trucks or things of that nature, I'd want to try to get a big head start on that. My position would be, I would be happy to be involved with it. I'd be happy to lead the charge. I'd be happy to sit back and do nothing. I'd be happy to, I'm just telling you what I could do and what I know and what would be available for where we could contribute to make this happen. This would not be a Pier 98 event. This would totally be a City of Parker event. It would probably be City of Parker first annual 4th of July celebration with sponsors, whoever the sponsors would be. Coca-Cola is one of them. We would be one of them. United Rentals would probably be one of them. And I haven't done anything to really solicit it. I've just, in passing conversation, hey, what do you guys think about this? Oh yeah, so at any rate. So that's pretty much what I wanted to throw out there on the table to you folks, and see what you thought about that, and if you have an interest. And I assume that I don't need a permission to have a Kingfish tournament, but I saw that was on the agenda. And this has nothing to do with me having or not having a Kingfish tournament. We'd planned to do that before this combination of ideas came together. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Buchholz. Council, do you have any questions?
Well, I kind of looked into it a little bit. I knew it was coming up, and I went down to the pier, and where the old head station used to be, right now the land's up for sale, but I'm not too sure how long it's going to take to buy. But there's a place there we could park if we could get permission from whoever owns that part. It's a pretty good sized piece of land, maybe a ½ acre or so. And the other thing I looked into is, because the boat ramp is not really deep enough or big enough for the big boats to go and launch there. But if they launch someplace else, and that apartment complex has got 10 or 12 spots that there's only one sailboat in there for the past 2 years, and maybe we could work out something where people could come in on a Friday night and park there, and then go out in the morning on
Well, I
Saturday.
think that you would find the boats really wouldn't be an issue because they wouldn't be launching there. I mean, you might have somebody that would, but most boats would be coming in. The only thing a boat would do or have to do with that would be the dock out there. They would just pull up, weigh the fish, and leave. There wouldn't be no anchoring, no boats, no trailers. You know, it would just be outside activity. I mean, anybody, if we had a kingfish tournament, may go down there and launch a boat and park it, whether this event went on or not. But it's not now that fireworks would surely create a lot of boats out on the water, because that's the one thing when you go to these fireworks, you get boats. Yeah, it's a great place to be. You get the echoes off the water and the reflections, and so you'd probably fill up East Bay with boats.
Well, I think it's a good idea. The idea of, here again, you're not asking the citizens of Parker for any money or anything like that, so I think we ought to try it, see if it works. If it works, great. If it don't work, well, at least we tried. And kind of like you said, get Parker on the map. It's surprisingly how many people don't even know where Parker is.
You'd be surprised how many people come into our bait shop and say, "Hey, you going down to the pier? What pier? What are you talking about?" There's a lot of people think that it's part of the apartment complex.
Right.
It definitely would.
You're right on that.
It would definitely open the eyes up of a lot of people of what's going on down there. But that may not be something that Parker wants. They may not want a lot of activity. I don't know. I'm just offering to help to do whatever Parker wants.
Yeah, I think we ought to try it and see. And it don't hurt to try one thing and see if it works. If it don't work, then you don't have to do it again.
Several of these things may terminate it really quick. I mean, we need several approvals, which we'd go after right away, and budgets for the financing. And we might find out real quick that we run into something that would stop it anyways. But if it didn't, I think we could pull it off. Hey, don't get me wrong. There's going to be issues, but I'm pretty confident that we could do a good enough job with it. Everybody'd be glad they had it rather than not having it all, no matter how much trouble we had with what we did.
Anybody else?
I think it's a great idea.
The only issue I have is the parking, the parking would be
The parking, it would be, and that park right across from where we are is huge, and it's not the ideal walking distance. I've walked it myself, at times. So there's a lot of people who walk there. There's also the potential of people volunteering, doing some shuttling back and forth, and a lot of people are going to come by water. Boats are going to be out there. And,
ones that'll be
and-
visiting will be coming to see it, not them
Yeah.
coming to park.
yeah, and the other part is you can see fireworks from a mile away. So it's,
Have you ever been to the on the 4th of July, went down to that boat launch? At that time of day, you're going to shoot fireworks off. You ever been down there before?
Have I ever been down there?
On the 4th of July?
Not at 9 o'clock at night. I haven't. No.
Okay. Well, that's usually when all the boats are coming in. You add fireworks to it. You add a bunch of drunks to it.
I don't care.
It's going to be a mess.
Hey, it's you guys. I'm not asking for nothing.
This is
I'm
ridiculous.
just in a position to
there's
really help you
nowhere
guys
there-
if you want to do it.
There's no room for this kind of agenda.
Okay.
There's no room. There's no parking. It'll be a big
Well,
cluster
Don't say there's no parking. There is parking.
on
It
somebody
just
else's
has to be-
property.
Yeah, you have, you got that apartment complex down there for a one-day event. I don't know why they wouldn't allow us to have parking there, maybe not inside the gate, but over where the office is. There's all kinds of parking there. I don't think that's a stumbling block. I
Me
think that's
personally,
a-
I could discuss it with my husband, but if it's just a one-day thing, if somebody can figure out shuttle services, we have a whole open piece of property on
Yeah, there's-
right across the street from. I wouldn't mind people parking there.
Before we could close ours.
Yeah.
Intend to
I'll
park
open
right-
my whole.
Right around there.
I'm right across the street from where the Labreese is.
Mhm.
I have that whole entire open parking lot.
And the church will let us use.
And
their
the church
parking
will
lot.
let us
There's
use their
two
parking
exits,
lot.
I think.
Yeah, and, you know, there's somebody who's not gonna get a parking space as every event, you know, it's gonna happen. And the question is, if it doesn't cost the city money, and the question is, are they better off, some people getting benefit of it? For me personally, I would be better off with the Kingfish tournament way in at my place. That's where my traffic and my people would become. My willingness to do that would be simply it would really fit really nice with the event and create the activity and draw the people.
That's probably a better idea. That's probably a better idea.
Now, we could probably park at least 100 cars down there at the park. Have to use the grass area, but there's probably enough room to park at least 100 cars.
And I'm
Right
right
there.
catty corner from the park.
Well, what about the mom and pop family that wants to go down and launch a boat, go across the channel, watch fireworks there, wants to come back at night, load up, and that takes away from people who've been using that boat launch for years and years and years for the same situation.
Yeah, but we're talking about a one-day event. We're not talking about,
4th of July,
yeah.
that's a one-day event, and most people take the boats out.
And in the same sense, there's multiple other boat ramps too. There's literally one right around the bayou in Donaldson Point. I mean, we could do it at Donaldson Point boat ramp, but I'm sure they wouldn't like it either. So it's a kind of tit for tat situation. You got Panama City boat ramp. I mean, you got multiple boat ramps. It's one day.
I mean, if you advertise it well ahead of time, people plan on it, they can make plans. I mean, I don't know, hey,
I think it's a great idea.
so,
I do
again,
too. I think it's worthwhile trying.
Yep.
Mayor, I would bring up with your lease with the state, you'd have to get their permission, not only for any tournament, but you'd also have to get their permission for fireworks.
Well,
Because
as he said, that's why we would do this a year in advance. There may be things that we encounter on this journey, if we decide to do this, that negates our ability to move forward, and that could well be because what the park is designed to be used for. But you know, I'm of the opinion that anything that's good for Parker is good for me. So if it's good for Parker, I'm going to support it. If it's not good for Parker, then I won't support it.
Well, I say get some people together and kind of go. First thing would be with the state to see. That'd be the main thing. First thing to find out.
there's several obstacles you'd have to come through quickly.
Yeah, and
and
then we can
like I
find-
said earlier, it may
just
all end right there. But
Make
He-
a list and go down the list.
Mr. Buchholz said that he would want to form a group of individuals who would organize and check all those rules and regulations and document that. That probably is a good course of action.
yeah,
You got a year.
I'm not wanting to do this. I'm just offering my services to the city to do this. I would be glad to head something up. I'll be glad to organize. I'll be glad to lead it. But I much prefer a committee make decisions, you know, or at least certainly be part of the decision making on
Yeah.
what was done.
Yeah.
And we would need the city to help with promoting it, and you know, being able to use the marketing tool of the cities, like the weekly or the monthly newsletters and the sign. And it would be you know, this isn't about me or Pier 98. It's
So
about
what
the city
are
of
you
Parker.
thinking, Ms. Barrow, that we would get him to form a group and then see what they come up with? And
Get a list of what. Starting with the first thing would be with the state to find out
Right.
if that's no go, then that would be would
Miss-
be ended.
Mr.
But-
Sloan has got a few things that we already know are going to be hurdles. And, well, I think the airspace that you mentioned could well be a problem, but they do have a firework display also.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter, that's why I want to get it, you know, why I would suggest we get a head start on it, because it may end really quick.
Yeah.
And if not, it's not something you want to wait until 3 months before and try to put it together. And
I would
Yeah.
say just allow them to at least look into it, see if it is something we can do, because what happens when later on we all find out, oh, well, we could do that, and then we done missed the opportunity, we have to wait a whole nother year.
That's true.
I've got some good sponsors that I think will put up a lot of money. I don't know if they'll put up enough to cover it all, but I know that they'll put up a lion's share of it, if not all of it. I'm not in position to go ask them, because I don't know if you guys want to do this or not.
My opinion is, I mean, you don't know unless you try, so.
I say the first thing to do is get up a letter and get a letter up to the state and find out from the state first, and then go from there.
I think this is right. You probably need to have a group of people, and even if we didn't have firework display, or even and if all the fish were weighed at 98, it doesn't mean we couldn't have food vendors and bouncy houses and events down there at that end corner, because you can actually see Tyndall's fireworks from there also. There's, I mean, I support that. We need to do something. We used to have fun days every year. We used to do it all the time. We used to be over in that park, and we would have such great days. Great days.
This could take Fun Day to another level with the activity that could be created
Yeah.
with this event.
Yeah, it could be an annual event.
Yeah, I would approach it from that standpoint, and if you can stop it, you don't have to have a second one. If the first one's not successful, you don't have a second one.
Right. I guess the only thing I would tell you is that I wouldn't be willing to fund it. I would be willing to help you with it, but not fund it. And
Wait a minute, don't help me with it.
okay,
Help
well, I
Parker
thought
with
you were going to gaffer it. You'd be the one heading it up for
I'll
us.
lead the charge if you want me to, but I'll be glad to help somebody if they want to. But I mean, this is.
And I like the thought of maybe the proceeds going to a charity like whatever the charity is. It doesn't matter to me as long as it goes to something good.
Yeah, well, all the fish, there'll be a lot of fish from the tournament, because part of the tournament rules will be that they donate the fish. And,
So I will tell you, I'm not going to go into great detail because I don't want everybody to know where the folks came from. But the last fishing rodeo we did down there, those children were just elated.
yeah.
Elated. Their day was a great day. And I'd like to see more of that, and I'd like to see people taking a lot more interest in that type of event, because a lot of them kids didn't have a fair shake, and this might be something that we could do to help them.
There's all kinds of things that could be done with this event.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the committees would be for, to figure that out.
Yeah.
And,
So would you be willing to form a committee of, say, 10 people, like 7 people, and do the research and find out what you need to find out?
absolutely, I would. Well, what I would like to see happen is you guys put it out to the community. If anybody would like to volunteer to be part of that committee,
Okay.
I don't want to pull it out of my folks. This needs
Yes.
to be Parker, and
Volunteer to be on the committee.
yeah.
I'd volunteer too.
So I can see 3 right here in this room that have already said that they would do it. So $100 each. Clerk will collect your money. Okay. I will do that. We'll put that in the newsletter for you.
When's the newsletter next?
Quit saying for me, Mayor.
Okay, for
For
your
me, for Parker.
Did you say tomorrow?
No, I said it's in process.
the city of Parker is looking for people to form a committee to assist Pier 98 exploratory committee
There you go. That's a good word.
that's why he gets paid so much, and to help explore what we would need to do to make this happen, or something, not necessarily this animal, or one something similar to it. What do you think about that?
I'm up for any.
When they come and weigh in at yours, they just pull up, weigh out, and they're done, aren't they?
What I would do is we might sink a piling with a scale on it. That dock, not
Right,
the pier,
right.
not the big pier you built. But
Right,
that
right,
dock.
right.
Somebody pull up there with a boat, have it pre-made with a tail wrap, so they just hang the fish, weigh it, go on. The next boat comes in. It would be fast and easy, and then the fish would be put into a cooler with ice, and because they'd have.
Well,
to
there'll be
donate
so many fish you could fill this room up.
Oh, it'd be a lot of fish.
Yeah.
It'd be good for.
And who do you think would take them off us?
I'm sorry.
Who do you think would take the fish?
I know for sure Tarpon Dock would. You know,
Okay.
they're commercial fishermen.
Greg Abrams would.
There's several people.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be.
Okay.
That'd be no problem.
Chuck's in the business, so he knows,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so
the
we'll
number
put
two.
an ad in the flyer,
Yeah.
in the newsletter. When is that, Miss Bundy?
I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
Might be a good idea to wait till Mr. Sloan finds out what we can and can't do within that parameter before we start
We got
advertising.
to do a
it.
letter first. We have to do a letter to.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, the committee's gonna do that. They're gonna find out if it's can or can't do.
Well,
You
we
know,
need to go.
It might be, maybe the committee finds out that the state won't allow us to do it. Okay, so that's it. But until we know that, I think we ought to go ahead with it.
Is your committee gonna hire an attorney to find this out, or you wanna go through Mr. Sloan?
We're not gonna go through Mr. Sloan and pay him. It's for the city.
Oh, okay, I got you. Understood.
Well, it still needs to be coming from the city of Parker if it's a city Parker event,
That's okay.
But I don't think this is something you need an attorney
asking
for.
the state.
Agreed,
I don't think this is something you need an attorney for.
We might need him for about an hour or so.
yeah.
20 minutes.
Maybe.
I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. I would like to volunteer to be on the exploratory committee, and no disrespect to Mr. Sloan, but I think, John, to your point, that is what the exploratory committee does. If we get Mr. Sloan involved, it's gonna immediately start costing the city money that we don't have budgeted. So we get people together. You put together a hell of a list already, 10 dull things that I would not have thought about. You know where to get the weigher, you know, all that kind of stuff to do the weigh-in, if that's what works. But may I ask permission to put this in the Parker Citizen tomorrow, because we can post that tomorrow, that this
Ma'am.
is, and I'm happy to run it by the council to say, here's, or Mayor Kelly, or you, Ms. Bundy, here's what the city is doing, because I
Go
see
ahead.
it as a great opportunity.
I will say if the city's putting their name on something, there's gonna need to be a point of contact. I'm going to assume that might be me and my staff and fall
Sure.
into our kind of
Yeah.
lane. If not, they'll interject. And so if you want to do that, I think that is potentially a really great thing
Yeah.
because it reaches a lot of people. And if we could have the liberty of coming up with something marketing wise, have council look at that first.
Right, but again, is that what the committee does, so that your staff doesn't have to, as he was saying, you
Right.
get a group of marketing people together
Okay.
and say, here's what it is, we have the city simply approve it.
Correct. Then yes,
And
that's
That would be
that
my
would be
drather.
that.
Let you
And
guys
then
organize it all.
You know,
Committees work cheap.
yeah, yeah, they do. Do we, you know, I don't know that we need a liability release, but do we, you know, put some sort of disclaimer at the bottom of all the advertising, something like that, so that there's no broader exposure to the city than there already would be. You know, I mean, if something happens at the pier, we're gonna be held responsible anyway, so that was just my 2 cents. Thank
Hey,
you.
good. Hey, I'm in it for what everybody wants.
Yeah, and I
Nothing
live
else.
across the street, so.
Yeah, I know.
Now, do we need a motion to make it go ahead, or
No,
just,
no, he just bring it to us what he proposes to do. I think exploring first is a good idea. Like Katie says, this could all end on Friday. Next Friday, it could be over. They gonna say yes or no, or,
There's a number of things that could trip it up.
yeah.
Sponsors, firework, approval, the pier, the state. I think the key, the park across the street for parking is an important part of it.
I mean, and that's the thing. There's a lot of what ifs in life, but you'll never know unless you try.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
I'd say just try it out, see what kind of answers you can find out, and then we'll talk about it then.
Okay. You guys just point me in what direction you want me to go, is all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Buchholz. Item 3, ladies and gentlemen, is ordinance 2025 426. Mr. Sloan, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Over the course of time, it's come to my attention, and at the direction of the mayor, I prepared a draft of an ordinance that would, for the permit applications that only go through the city clerk, some things were needing to be evaluated that the clerk was beyond the clerk's expertise, and would be in the bailiwick of the city engineer. So this ordinance is intended to basically, for those permit applications that are minor developments, they would go to the city engineer and be subject to the city engineer's prior approval before the issuance of that permit.
Well, what are we talking about, minor developments? I mean,
Well,
If
there's
it goes
a
to
laundry
the,
list.
if it goes to city engineer, it's gonna cost them what, $1,500 a person to go through the city engineer? Is that what
I
the
have
city
no idea
engineer
what-
charges?
What the city engineer charges.
That's about what the city charges. This is what you collect, isn't it?
think so.
1,500. They collected it already, Tanya.
The minor developments are on that first page, Ms. Farrell.
They already collect that. If you go build a house and you bring it to Miss Bundy, you collect $1,500.
Right, so a single-family detached residence is one of the items on that list. Construction of a dock or seawall not required to be considered by the council. Pods, connexes, those kind of things. That's the minor development list that would be.
So what does the engineer get out of this?
I assume the engineer would be paid.
Yeah, we'd have to pay them. I don't know what you'd pay them. It would depend on the job, the amount of work that went into it, I'm sure.
So if somebody wants to put a dock in,
That's not, I don't think a dock would be, wouldn't that be the state of Florida that would dictate the dock and service the dock?
Well, one that's not required to be considered by the council.
Right.
The council considers such things as commercial docks, multifamily docks, those kind of things.
Right.
But that list on the first page would be, currently it's subject to the city clerk's approval or disapproval. But sometimes there are things that have come up in the course of that evaluation that the city clerk was not in a position to evaluate. So that's why I assume the mayor directed me to prepare this and you know, it's up to
So
you guys.
sometimes, Ms. Barrow, we have situations that say blueprints and require reading. We don't have anybody that can do that. When that happens, it's gotta go to Ms. Moore at Anchor Engineering to do the review. And yeah, you gotta pay her. I don't know, the way I understand it right now is they pay $1,500 to the city, and the cost of the engineer or electrician or EPCI or whatever is taken out of that amount of money. And then if more money is required for all of those services, then the builder or the developer has to pay that to the city, because we're paying those individuals provide that service to the city. That's my understanding. For me, I don't think we should build some of the buildings that aren't properly engineered. I know we shouldn't.
well, what does our city planner do? He doesn't know how to read blueprints?
I've never asked him, but I would hazard to say no. You wouldn't get a guy for 17, 18 bucks an hour that can read blueprints. That just doesn't happen.
What is he playing?
What, I don't know. I don't know what his job description is. I'd be for consolidating him and the code officer, as far as I'm concerned.
So need a motion to read, or what is this,
If you all are inclined to do so, you'd have a motion to read, and it'd be a first reading.
Yep.
And then if that motion passes and the header is read, then
Have a motion to
it'd come
adopt.
back- No, it'd come back in another meeting, a second meeting, and have a second reading and a motion to adopt.
Yep.
Sir.
At what point do you have public comment?
Oh, well, I just really wish we'd discuss this before we get in here and just give it to us tonight.
Okay.
But that's my thoughts.
What would you like to talk about, man? You have the floor. Go ahead.
Oh, what am I talking about?
Mayor, can I speak?
Certainly.
Mark Riga, 1503 Dover Road. I remember back in 2021, one of the big reasons that we granted this authority to the clerk was because there were criticisms that things were taking too long. And we recognized at that time that there was a third entity, which at the time was the EPCI, that ultimately made sure that they met Florida code, Florida building code, things were proper. At this time, I think it's probably not a bad idea to consider segmenting this. In other words, certain things that are much more complex, like for example, we know that Florida Environmental Protection gets involved when a dock is built because of things like seagrass and things of that nature. So rather than putting everything in one bucket, anything that would be a minor development, because there are things that Kevin and Ingrid certainly could do, things like any shed over 120 square feet. I don't think we need to send that to Elizabeth, or a carport.
But do we need a full-time employee for one or two of those a year?
I would think that we could probably segment this to dwellings and anything with regard to seawalls or anything with structure where there's complexity involved, where there are blueprints involved. Because it does take a knack to know how to do that stuff. And it also takes a knack to make sure that there's at least 7 different agencies when you're putting in a simple dock or seawall beyond a certain size, especially if it's sensitive waters, where you have to be looking at that, making sure that you're not violating any of the state laws. So, but there's an awful lot of things that come into, that are de minimis, that are just beyond de minimis, that are still fall into the minor category that Ingrid and Kevin certainly could approve. And I think I would start by just saying any dwelling, because there are blueprints involved, EPCI absolutely has to, approve any kind of a dwelling.
So that's the problem we have right now, Mr. Rega. As I ride around the city, I see homes being built, sheds being built. They're not engineered, and they're not even inspected during the construction process.
If it's a home being built and EPCI approved it, then it meets the Florida standard unless there's criminal activity going on.
Well, explain to me the one on Arrow Street most recently that was 16 feet over the property line.
Well, I would tell you that somebody didn't inspect that properly.
That's exactly right.
That's on EPCI.
Right?
That's on EPCI. That's
not Parker.
Yeah, I mean it's whoever the inspection agency is.
I think it was us.
Well, if it's a single-family dwelling, EPCI would have been required to inspect it. There are at least 6 different inspections during the building of a dwelling, and more like 9 depending on what you're doing. Going from grade to foundation to structure to roofing, everything. So my thought is, if we go back to why we originally granted this to the clerk, it was because we were being criticized for taking too long. And I get it, there are things that are much more complex in a minor category, but I would segment out probably things that involve docks, seawalls, and dwellings. And then everything else, carports, sheds bigger than 120 square feet, driveways.
Anything that holds a load, it's too much responsibility to ask Miss Bundy to be responsible to approve something that holds a significant load.
Yeah.
That's way too much responsibility for her.
But if it's a driveway, EPCI should be checking, or whoever is going to be the inspection agency should be checking to make sure that the thickness, that the setbacks are proper, things of that nature. Anything that, driveways, like I say, small things that probably don't know, because even though we collect $1,500 per month or per item for a minor, anything going to Elizabeth's group, we would then be paying them for anything they peruse. And it's not about the cost; it's about getting it right. But I think the risk is related to dwellings and sea structures.
So,
I think,
Council, one of the things that I'd like to see us change in the land development regulation is everything that's built in the city of Parker, the fire department should review those plans before it's built. I looked at a house this week, and it's not going to be a house, it's going to be like a clubhouse. But it was built on a hill. The angle of inclination is such that when the weight of the load ever changes, that house is going into bayou. There's no doubt about it.
yeah. And so it's an
The
illegal.
fire department didn't get
that-
it, never
that's-
even reviewed it.
And that's an illegal structure then, and EPCI didn't do their job, if they're the.
But we
inspection
approved it.
agency.
I asked Kevin, he said, yeah, it's good.
Well, if the city approved it, you know, the plans still have to go through EPCI. You still have
Right.
to build a structure that's safe, meets all of the code, with regard to the Florida building codes, meets all of the setbacks, the proper setbacks, and if it's being built incorrectly, somebody screwed up. And whether or not we go to, you know, Elizabeth Moore, you know, group approving something, those will still happen because somebody screwed up. There was a weak link in that chain. That should not be happening today. We approve and then the development order gets done. Then those plans have got to be approved by Florida Building Code. If they're then approved, and EPCI is not doing their job in order to properly make sure that that structure is safe and built properly to current hurricane standards, that they look at soil content, they look at everything.
Yeah.
Flood zones, setbacks, something got violated. It wasn't the city. That was an inspection issue. Anyway, my issue is if it's a dwelling or if it is a C structure because of the sensitivity with environmental protection today, I think it's a good move. Have Elizabeth review it because she'll have more options there. But if it's other things which are much more minor, you know, we don't care if a non-dwelling falls down, it's somebody's shed. I'm not sure why you don't want to spend the money to.
I think that, me personally, counsel, I would rather EPCI be more involved in the building inspections than they currently are. And if they can't do it, then we need to get somebody that can.
You know, about 8 or 10 years ago, we built a carport in our backyard. And for a carport, there were 4 inspections. There were inspections when you dug the hole, they ran the ruler down to
Yep,
make sure you were
yep,
deep enough.
yep.
They made sure that you had proper piling
Yep.
width. Then they came back when the rough-in was done. Then
Yep.
they came back when the roof, before you put the shingles on. Then they came back when the shingles were on. And there were 4 for a carport.
That's good.
So what I'm saying is, if something like what you've described has happened and it was built improperly, somebody at EPCI is not doing their job. I don't know if switching it over to Elizabeth would change that, because EPCI is still going to be the inspection agency. They're just going to look at the plans. And those plans have got to be proper anyway.
We just approved a lot split that shouldn't have been approved.
Okay. But,
That was just today. Discovered it. It's every day,
yeah.
we're not meeting that goal. We're not meeting the goal. This future growth of the city of Parker is, we need to make sure we're on our A game every day. I could drive you guys around the city
Yeah.
and I could show you 10 that I've just glanced at that I asked about this last 2 weeks.
And again, my issue is just, I think we could segment it. I think dwellings and
Okay.
sensitive issue structures like C structures could probably meet this need,
And-
save the city, you know, whatever cost it might be to go to the engineers. And then other things that aren't as critical, non-dwellings, sheds, things like that, which may still fall in the minor category, could probably still be approved by the planning and because years ago when I built my carport, it did not require a blueprint. It required drawings and
Yeah.
and things like if you're using, you know, a structured, you know, roof structures that were built by another company, you had to show what the requirement was to EPCI for approval.
Right.
And
What were your concerns, Ms. Barron?
Well, I don't have a problem with the blueprints if it's something that's got to be blueprints on it. It's just I agree with him what he's saying. There's other little minor stuff that it's not necessary for somebody to have to go through an engineer to put up. But if it's got blueprints on it, yeah, and which the docks and stuff, we really don't have to approve that stuff. Isn't that done by DEP and the Corps of Engineers?
And the EPCI, yeah.
So but if you want to include that in there, that's fine. But I just think there's some things that's just.
Well, the list, the actual list of the minor developments, I misspoke, actually starts on page 2. So those are really the laundry list. Page 1 has the list of what the clerk is approving also, but the actual definition of minor development starts on page 2, which would be, those are your listings there.
Yes, ma'am, come to the podium if you would.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. Pat Posick, 1344 Stratford. I completely understand and agree with Tanya's concern, but I did some research in anticipating this. Let me find my notes, I apologize. First of all, I think, I don't know whether Mr. Riga said it or Mayor Kelly said it, but when EPCI does review something, as I recall and as I understand it, not only do they have to pay, I think it's 1,000, maybe 1,500, I just downloaded the app today. Not only does the money come out of that, but if the effort that they have to put in exceeds that, then the council's supposed to, or the city is supposed to have a way to bill that back to the developer.
Correct.
And it specifically states in the LDRs that the city has the authority to establish and adjust fees.
Yes.
So if a review is to be required, my question was gonna be, if a review is required to be done by EPCI, who is responsible? I think it should be the developer. I think, just throwing this out, because I had a deck built. Submitted my application to have a fence put in, have a deck built, and I had a deck built. EPCI came out and inspected my deck because it's way up off the ground, because of, I live on a slope. And they also inspected my roof when they came out. And that was a minimal, what did I pay, $40, $100? It was 4 years ago for what I had put into my house. I never got billed more than that. Maybe I should have, I don't know. He wasn't there long, but there was a gentleman that did indeed come out. So can we go to EPCI and say, here's the kinds of things we're looking at? Again, the more complex ones, maybe it'll have to be a per hour, it'll be a fee, but for a driveway for such a such and such size, a building for such and such size, they're closing in their garage. All they want to do is they're saying, okay, I'm going to close in my garage, but are they making that into a bedroom? Then it's residential. Then we're living in it. But what did they say? They simply said, I'm going to take my garage door down and I want to put up glass sliding doors. So are we going to make that connection that it is actually a dwelling now that hasn't been inspected, presumably? Because I would sort of consider that a minor development. So can we work with EPCI to establish base fees, and then if there are more complicated events or more complicated developments, then whatever costs are incurred by the city, that has to be passed along to the developer, and the person knows that up front. We have a communication piece, it's on the application. I downloaded the applications and look to see what we have out there now. All we have to do is explain that to them. Some of them, for the minor developments, here's one for $100, here's one for $40, here's one for $350 to $150. It depends upon what it is. Single family home and addition. Back to your point, that's a dwelling, but it is considered a minor development, $350 to $150. I don't know if that goes to EPCI or not. And if it does, is that enough to cover it? Back to Mr. Riga's point, many people, Planning Commission, residents, even the council have expressed concern and frustration sometime that we don't get timely response from EPCI. That's a problem. And as you said, Mayor Kelly, if they're not willing to do it, then maybe we need to look at somebody else. Or is there another firm? Can we get somebody on contract, somebody with experience that can do it on a contractual basis, a per fee basis? I don't know. Just things to think about. And then if the costs are not going to be passed along, if this goes through, I know it's just the introduction, the first reading, it may or may not be adopted, but if the costs are not passed along, when we do the budget for 25-26, we need to consider the possible increase in fees for EPCI, because I looked at the budget for what we have this year. Currently, we have $20,000, we budgeted $20,000 for the 24-25 fiscal year, when our actual for 3/31/24, so that would be what, halfway through? Yeah, halfway through the year, we had already spent $37,000 with engineering fees last year. I don't know what we spent this year, haven't seen the budget to see where we are, but we would need to consider that in the budgeting process. If it's gonna be a pass-through, passed back directly to the builder, then the city doesn't have to worry about that. The city pays what the city pays for EPCI to do what it does within that application permit, and or if the city's gonna build something like the lean-to out here, the pole barn that we built, to make sure that that's done. I think it's a great idea. I think it will enhance the properties here, and give a piece to, frankly, me as a homeowner, that somebody came out and inspected it instead of the people that put up my deck, because Lowe's put it up and they had to come up and redo it because the inspectors said, oh no, they did this wrong. Now, I didn't hire Joe Cool to do my deck. I contracted through Lowe's, and they still had to come redo it. And EPCI was the one that caught that.
And aren't you glad that they did?
I am absolutely glad.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's why when I saw this, it's like, yes, because it puts everybody on an even field. And again, if EPCI can't do it timely, we set up a time frame, we set up a procedure, the city sets up a procedure to say, here's what you do. You submit the application. EPCI, it comes into your office, you send it off to EPCI within 4 business days, whatever. They've got a week to turn it around. It's not that hard. It's not like they're looking at an East Bay Flats complex. That's a little more different. Or a Mr. Santora's building. I know EPCI went through that because we had a discussion at the Planning Commission meeting that Mr. Santora was responsible for those expenses because it went back and forth so many times. So just my 2 cents. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Berry, you still have the floor. I'm sorry, I can't
I
hear.
don't have anything
Oh,
to
nothing.
say.
Kate? Nothing? Anybody? Ron? John? Anybody? Okay, now I'm bewildered. Where do we go? It's over.
Well, if you don't have a motion to read, then.
Yep, that's the end of it.
So we're all using.
Okay. Anybody on the council make a motion or a second? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very
Wait a
much for
minute.
What?
You did ask,
Okay. Thought you changed your mind, Ron?
no, I do have something.
Okay, go
I need
ahead.
to ask the council to let me build a, what I'm gonna call a coffee bar out there underneath the pavilion. It'd be on wheels, so you can move it around. But I wanna start serving water and free coffee and possibly snow cones out there. And I need something to work on. So I'm asking the council to let me build it's not very big, it's 4 by 6 L-shaped bar that I have in mind. And it would stay out there, and when you had gatherings or something like that, they could use the bar to serve their Kool-Aid and stuff like that off of it. But so I'm just asking the council if I can do it.
On wheels? You know it's gonna be gone in 2 days? Chain it down, that's right.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got that project out there. We've got about $80,000 tied up in it already, between the city and myself, and it's not getting used. So I'm just trying to do something to enhance and maybe get people to come out there and take a look at it. And what I'm looking for is people to start using it as for parties or whatever. There is no fee to it. It's all free this year, anyway. And but I talked to some of the people that walk in the morning and some of the people that walk at night, and they would like a cup of water or a bottle of water once they got finished walking it. And so I said, well, I'll ask the council if I can do it. And the council says I can. We'll start having water and coffee out there free. They don't cost you nothing. So, but I need something to work on. So,
I think it's a good idea. I think we ought to let them carry on with it.
So, what's gonna be served at the bar?
Bloody Marys for $4.10.
Just saying alcohol can't be there because you can't have alcohol on city property, but I don't know.
we do have picnic tables. We've got 6 picnic tables out there already, 8-footers. And then we got 3 just tables to put food on or whatever. And to me, the bar would just be something to enhance the use of the facility.
Do we need a vote on something like this, or
So if you're gonna spend city money,
oh, it's by city money, or
No, we're not spending city money. I'm building it.
so you're providing the services and the materials.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not asking to spend any money in the city. The Lord knows I've already spent enough in the city. But,
So do we still need to vote on it, or can he? just-
Yeah, let's vote on it.
I'll make a motion so we can
I'll
build this.
second it.
We have a first and a second. When you call roll?
Miss Barrow,
Yes.
Miss Botifer,
Yes.
Mr. Chapel,
yes, I do.
Mr. Haney,
Yes.
and Mayor Keller.
No. Okay, you're up, John.
Thank you, Council.
Only thing I've got is, when I talked to a citizen that lives on Oak Shore, and he was very concerned about the speed limit there. And he said it's at 25 right now. I guess it's gonna be an issue where he was wondering if we could drop it down to 15 or so. Cause you know, you put a speed limit sign up for going 25, everybody's gonna go 35. So if you drop it down to 15, maybe you can get people to slow down a little bit so they don't run a kid over. I was hoping Tony might be here tonight. We could run it past him and see if that's a possibility or what have you.
We're putting out speed bumps on Donaldson Point in the next couple of weeks, maybe. What we do normally, we have a machine we can put down there, John. And the police can monitor the flow of traffic and the amount of vehicles traveling, what speed they're traveling.
We're talking about
Oak
Earl
Shore
Gilbert.
Drive.
Earl Gilbert Park, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would then know how many, if one car out of 100 was doing 25 and everybody else was doing 50, then yeah, we probably need some speed bumps. But what would you propose that we put the speed limit to?
15 is what that gentleman suggested. At least from the end of the apartments towards the park, the boat launch area.
Yeah, slow down where the apartments are.
Right.
Chief, what do you think? Is that something that has been an issue, or?
I drive down 3 times a day and I have not clocked anyone more over 30.
Okay.
But that's during the day, maybe at nighttime a little bit different, but it really has not been an issue, that I've seen.
Okay. You want us to put the machine up to measure the traffic flow and the speed?
That's up to, if you ain't got nothing better to do, might as well.
Do we still have a machine?
I don't think
Yeah.
that machine is,
It's a pole, isn't it? It's like a pole you put in the
oh,
side.
that one.
yeah, yeah.
That
If you wanna
straps.
slow it down to 15, right there where at the end, that'd be okay, where the last house is maybe.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
That's what
that would be,
that's where his complaint was coming from, those houses on there.
yeah.
Well, you think somebody's doing 50, they're gonna slow down to 15 when they get right there?
Right,
Okay.
Try it on
Speed
10, we'll see what
trap.
happens.
right.
Okay, anything? Nope. Ms. Barr?
I have one thing.
Okay.
I know we hadn't talked about the CRA money or what we got or anything like that, but, I would like us to look into it and see if we got enough money that we can try to get a city hall sign back down there where the hurricane took it out. Right down there on the corner where it tells
Can
where
we
it's,
put that in the next year's budget? Cause the CRA money was all spent on the, road resurfacing.
well,
And if
anyway.
we budget for 25, 26, it'd just be in there as part of Public Works' money.
Well, I was just saying, figure out something about putting that sign back up. It's been gone since the hurricane, and at least people know, tells them to come where to come
If
to.
Mr. Summerlin was here, he would tell little bit of a surprise today. We got about an $90,000 break in one of our lift stations that we've got to replace a pipe, labor and materials. So, that would be nice to have that sign back down there, but if I had, how much do you think it would be?
I have no idea. I paint cars. I don't do signs.
I would only $30,000.
Yeah, the
I
last
have no
sign I
idea.
bought was for my company, when I moved to Millville, it was about 10 grand for a sign.
10,000?
Yeah.
Okay. How about we look at it, Tanya, and see if we've got the money to do it?
Well, if we look at, just try to find out what prices that they, you know, what the price range would be for something like that to put back
Okay.
up there. I have no idea. I don't even, you know, that one was up there forever and ever and ever, but we haven't had one since the hurricane, so I just thought it looked a lot better, at least
It
when
looked a
people,
lot better, you're right. That would
somebody
look nicer.
know where to go to whenever they come.
It looked good if it was replaced. Okay, anything else, anybody? All right, thank you for your time.